Okay. Hello, everyone. Welcome to A Fistful of Dice. My name is Matt. Let me make sure my mic is the right one. Yep. Awesome. Thank you for joining me in this early afternoon, late morning, wherever it is that you are currently. Today is November 9th, which for me means that it is Harbinger Playtest Eve because Harbinger version 0.4 is going out to playtesters tomorrow, November 10th. If you're not familiar with Harbinger, what Harbinger is it's a dark science fantasy setting and rule set that I'm working on with Absolute Tabletop under the Open Gaming license. So it's based on the 5th edition rules. It's not something that you would add to your 5th edition game. It's like Adventures in Middle-earth, where it is its own game using the 5th edition sort of framework. And it's got magic, and it's got technology, and it's got monsters. It's kind of a lot of different things that I love thrown into a pot and brought to a simmer, reduced down to a delicious sauce. So today we're going to be going through the PDF for the version 0.4 playtest. So I'm going to screen share here. Well, let me get the playtest PDF actually open here. And my PDF viewer was behaving weirdly earlier, so hopefully it behaves for me now. All right, screen sharing. All right, so hopefully you guys can see that. So this is the cover here. All of the art that you're going to be seeing in this playtest packet is done by my good friend Hankering for an Ale, otherwise known as Brandish Gilhelm. He runs the YouTube channel Runehammer, formerly known as Drunkens and Dragons. The artist formerly known as Drunkens and Dragons. He does just amazing art, and he has a knack for just kind of plugging into whatever sort of style and tone you're going for. And Harbinger is something that is hard to quantify in terms of look and feel because there's not a whole lot out there that feels like the tone that I'm going for with Harbinger, and he has captured it perfectly, where it is just a nice solid balance between the fantasy and the science fiction elements. So this is the cover here for 0.4, one of his beautiful pieces of art. And we're going to go ahead and just scroll through here. This here is just the front matter. This has all of the credits for the book, the people that are involved in it, some different sort of legalese information, including permission to print this playtest. So if you wanted to print this and bind this at your local print shop, you would be able to, because it says so explicitly in the front matter. That was something that I wanted to make sure I included for people. So I'm just going to read this little synopsis here, and this should give you a good feel for the setting if you haven't delved into Harbinger yet. And by the way, if you are interested in Harbinger, there is a link in the description of this video to go sign up for the playtest if you have not done so already. Once you sign up for the playtest, you'll get a confirmation email, and then tomorrow you will get an email telling you how to download version 0.4. So, and if you do sign up, make sure that you check your spam folder. Our emails from our newsletter have been ending up in people's spam folders a lot, which is frustrating, but unfortunately there's not a whole lot we can do about that. So anyway, so begins the age of the Harbinger. Ancient void ships drift across the known orbits and nameless reaches of the gas giant Bastion. A mancer channels volatile space energy to conjure powerful magic. A mechanist, accompanied by floating servitors, breaks the centuries-old seal on a rune-etched door. A tireless treader tracks a beast across the desolate wastes of a fringe moon. And the Harbinger, a Leviathan alien structure, eclipses the stars. Discover the dark science fantasy universe of the Harbinger role-playing game, where magic and metal await spacers dogged enough to venture into the vast, unclaimed void, or into the dark, labyrinthine innards of the Harbinger itself. Danger and discovery await. So that should give you a good feel for what you're getting into here. So let's move on here, and then we just have a little forward here, talking about the playtest, what kind of feedback helps us out, what's included, what's coming soon, things like that. Also, just some brief stuff about how you can use the playtest in public games and using it in streamed games. Obviously, we want people to be able to play it and use it in their whatever games that they want. Sorry, one sec. I just got a message. By the way, if anyone has any questions, I'm keeping an eye on the chat, so make sure that you let me know if you have any questions or comments or anything about what you're seeing here. So what's included in this playtest? You get a handful of basic rules that differ from standard 5e. Please excuse the gigantic military plane currently flying directly over my house. 3 classes expanded up to level 5, gear and equipment including pulsars and weapon mods, rules for astral magic and casting spells including 16 spells with 3 boosts each, and a small sampling of creatures and stats. So Harbinger has its own magic system. It does not use the Vancian magic of 5th edition. It's a magic system called Astra, which allows you to cast spells and go beyond your limits in order to cast more powerful spells. And in doing so, you can exceed your limit and potentially suffer negative effects. So very inspired by the Spellburn system of Dungeon Crawl Classics and other games of that ilk. So what's coming soon? What can you expect in future playtests? Racial variants and backgrounds, core classes up to level 10, rules for void ship customization, exploration, and combat, a map of the known orbits, a full Harbinger bestiary with monster and NPC stats, more equipment and spells, and major and minor relics, which are like the magic items of this system. Here we have the table of contents. You have Chapter 1 overview, Chapter 2 the known orbits, which is kind of like about the setting, Chapter 3 how to play, Chapter 4 classes, Chapter 5 equipment, Chapter 6 magic, Chapter 7 creatures, and then we have our Opta, which is our online playtest agreement, and the open gaming license. So in the overview just kind of gives you a brief sort of overview of what you can expect in each chapter, talking about what each chapter entails. So in Chapter 2, the known orbits, like I said, it's kind of about the world and the history and the different locations and things like that. How to play is kind of like the new rules, the additions and modifications that we've added to Harbinger that differ from standard 5th edition. Chapter 4 is all about the classes, our 3 core classes. Chapter 5 is all the equipment, weapons, armor, void ships, all that kind of stuff. Chapter 6 is magic, which includes the rules for casting as well as the spells themselves. And Chapter 7 has some sample creatures that you can throw at your players. Okay, Chapter 2, the known orbits. So this is just a good sort of top-down view of the setting of Harbinger, which it's a gas giant called Bastion, which is orbited by dozens of moons, some of them discovered and colonized, others not. Mankind is stranded here on the lunar system of Bastion because they have lost the secrets of interstellar travel. They no longer have the secrets of FTL. So in Harbinger, tech it's ancient. Nobody creates ships from scratch anymore. Everything is reclaimed, retrofitted. Everything is a relic, an artifact. In this game, and that is all intentional. That's by design. I want all the ships and the weapons and stuff to feel very, very ancient. So we have a little breakout box here, the pillars of the Harbinger RPG, and this is a really good way to just sort of like instantly get a feel for what sorts of things you can expect playing and running Harbinger. So we have tech, ancient, reclaimed, and sought after. Most pieces of tech are relics of a bygone era. Magic, volatile, dangerous, yet integral to all life in the known orbits. Magic fuels everything. Discovery, vast unknown reaches riddled with ruins and long dead secrets. Danger abounds. Horror, unknown entities writhe within the Harbinger and spill forth across the known orbits. And intrigue, noble houses vie for power in a constant flux of control and influence. So, like I said, a lot of cool stuff that I like that I threw into a pot and have been simmering, reducing down to a delicious sauce. So it's a little Dune, it's a little Game of Thrones, it's a little Star Wars, a little Warhammer 40K, a little Numenera in there. So if you like any of that stuff, you'll probably dig Harbinger as well. In the known orbit section, we have some stuff about some of the notable moons of Bastion. This is by no means the extent of the moons of Bastion. There's dozens and dozens of moons, but these are some of the more notable ones. We're also going to be including a system for creating your own moons, rolling up your own moons with their own terrain and resources and denizens and things like that. So we also talk about the septs, which are like the noble houses, very similar to sort of like the Game of Thrones or the Dune noble houses, where they're sort of these big, powerful noble families that control most of the resources and the money and stuff in the known orbits. So we talk a little bit about some of the more prominent septs of Bastion. Again, there are literally dozens and dozens of septs in the known orbits. And much like the moons, we're going to be including a system for creating your own septs. So we want Harbinger to be a system that sets out with a foundation and then allows game masters and players to really, really make it their own, which is my preferred way of playing a game. So yes, there will be tenets established of the system, of the world, but mostly it's going to be, it's about discovery. It's about creating your own Harbinger, your own version of Harbinger. So we talk a little bit about Astra, which again is the magic, but again, it's also the fuel. It's used for spaceships. It's used to propel bullets out of guns. It's used to maintain atmosphere and gravity. It's basically Astra fuels everything. It is the lifeblood of life on Bastion. Technology, talking a little bit about the tech of the known orbits and how it works. We talk about void ships and weapons, and also necrotech, which is it's sort of like necromancy. It's fusing spirit and steel to create macabre but wondrous items. Necrotech utilizes the souls of the dead to create complex machine brains. So necrotech is what people use to create specters, which are kind of like onboard AI, but they're essentially ghosts that inhabit the ships. So I like saying that Harbinger is about flying around in a haunted house in space, because that's essentially what you're doing. You have your specter, which is a ghost that inhabits your ship and sort of maintains the higher functions of the ship. There's also baromechs, which are kind of a cross between undead and constructs, and necrographs, which are cybernetic enhancements that people can attach to themselves. And then we talk about the Harbinger itself: alien spacecraft, artificial moon, living creature, celestial tomb. The Harbinger is everything and nothing simultaneously, the salvation of humanity and its impending doom. The Harbinger represents lost wisdom, arcane secrets, and world-changing technology, just as readily as it represents death, calamity, and forbidden knowledge. The Harbinger's origin, purpose, and scope is unknown, and will likely remain so, but what is clear is that it represents the end and the beginning. The Harbinger is a Leviathan structure, larger even than some of Bastion's moons. Its true size and shape cannot be accurately measured, for it seems to reshape itself at random. It has no discernible silhouette or form, and can rarely be perceived in its fullness, for it seems to consume light rather than reflect it. Its carapace is an unknown material, not metal, not stone, not flesh, but something in between. Within, the Harbinger is riddled with maze-like corridors and chambers beyond counting. From its innards come all manner of eldritch horror, from the violent Scrug clans to hosts of Chryslic who proliferate and consume. And still deeper within slumbers things of ancient malice, beings of untold age and origin that reach out with psychic tendrils across the known orbits. So, yeah. Here's a question from Josh Holes. Here's a question. I am bouncing around at work and not sure if this has been answered. If so, I'm sorry. Would this have a similar feel and utility as Oath of the Frozen King? So not really. I mean, it's an entirely different thing. Oath of the Frozen King is more like a module. This is more like a system and a setting. However, a lot of the things that we have created in Oath of the Frozen King, having it be very modular, flexible, make it your own sort of thing, we're carrying that philosophy forward into a lot of our releases. And so things like Harbinger are going to include a lot of the cool roll tables and generators that you came to expect with Oath of the Frozen King. Same with, we're also working on Dead Man's Guide to Dragongrin, which is a campaign setting for Tim and James' World of Dragongrin. That is also going to be, it's going to include a lot of those sort of toolkit items, if you will, things that allow you to make it your own. So in terms of purpose and in terms of, utility, not necessarily the same as Oath of the Frozen King, but you're going to see a lot of the same philosophies and a lot of the same tools that you saw in Oath of the Frozen King. But it's not intended for this to allow you to create an adventure using it. It is a system and a setting for you to use at your game table. Ben Buckner has a question. Hey, Matt, thanks for doing a flip through. I saw something about ship combat being in this version of the playtest. Is that true? So ship combat we're working on right now. The full version of the ship combat is going to be in version 0.5, which is the one after this. But we have included some expanded ship options in this, which we're actually about to hit right now. So chapter 3 is all about how to play Harbinger. We're not, this is a 5th edition retooling, very similar to Adventures in Middle-earth, if you're familiar with that from Cubicle 7. This doesn't tell you how to play 5th edition. It tells you how to play this using 5th edition. And so we have some new skills, some new tool proficiencies. We also have included location conditions and item conditions. And so what these conditions do is they operate like a condition on a player character, but they apply to locations and items. So for instance, I'm not going to go through all of these, but one of the location conditions is sealed. In sealed environments, such as those on void ships, the following rules apply. If a creature makes an attack with a pulsar, which is our ranged weapons, and rolls a natural 1, all creatures in the location must succeed on a DC 15 dexterity saving throw or fall prone and take 1d8 bludgeoning damage from depressurization. The current location also gains the low oxygen and low grav conditions. So that's like, hey, if you're going to fire a pulsar in a sealed environment, you better make sure you're not going to miss. And then we have low oxygen and low grav conditions that can be applied to locations. And then we have item conditions, which are a good way to represent sort of the degradation and the sort of worn qualities of the technology in Harbinger. And so weapons and armor can receive these item conditions. So for instance, the worn condition. The item has some wear and tear. The following rules apply to worn items. With a weapon on an attack roll of 1, the weapon gains the next severity of item condition, in this case malfunctioning. With armor, if an attack made against you is a 20, the armor gains the next severity of item condition. It requires a DC 10 intelligence check and 10 glint to repair. So your items can become worn, malfunctioning, even broken, and you have to maintain them. We then talk a little bit about the Astra system, ways that you can use Astra, because it's not just for spells. All the classes have abilities that consume Astra, and also ways to reduce your Astra fade, which is like the Astra that you take on. So here's Ben. This is what you were just asking about. This is sort of the void ship stuff that we've included in here. There's also some void ship stats in the equipment section that we'll get to here in a little bit. But just some, we say here, specialized rules for ship customization and in-depth space combat will be included in a future playtest. But we do have what you can do for piloting, navigating, attacking, repairing. We also have interplanetary travel, getting to near, far, distant, remote, and unknown destinations, including the difficulty for the astrogation checks for near, far, distant, remote, and unknown locations, as well as interplanetary events if you fail your astrogation check. So things like you drift into a cloud of debris, you're beset by raiders, you're completely lost, you must choose a new destination, make another astrogation check at disadvantage, things like that. Gavin Walters here. Hey, Gavin. All right, Chapter 4 is classes. There are 3 classes currently in Harbinger: Mancer, Mechanist, and Shredder. I'm going to read a little bit about them. Excuse me. Mancers are powerful, volatile magic users. Using their inner strength, they cast spells, stave off the negative effects of Astra, and bolster their spells with boosts. The Mancer currently has 2 specializations, the Adept and the Siphon. Mechanists are mechanically minded utility supports. With their spheroids, they can heal and buff allies, attack enemies, and provide shields during combat. Mechanists also repair and modify weapons and armor. The Mechanist has 3 specializations: the Fixer, the Slip Dagger, and the Necrotech. So eventually all of these classes will have 3 specializations. Currently, the Mechanist is the only one with 3. We did a big sort of retooling, redesign of the Mechanist in version 0.3. So the Treaders are martial-focused warriors and explorers, masters of traversing the void above and the moons below. Treaders excel at using their favored weapons, tracking enemies, and exploring strange and unique locations. The Treader currently has 2 specializations, the Reaver and the Stalker. So let's get into it a little bit. So here's the Mancer. Again, awesome art done by Brandish Gilhelm, hankering for a nail, formerly of Drunkens and Dragons. Oh, the artist formerly known as Drunkens and Dragons, now known as Runehammer. You can check out his YouTube channel. He does awesome stuff. So again, you see this. This looks very much like a 5th edition class. The way that it works, you get your hit points, you get your proficiencies, your skills, saving throws, and then you get your class features here. So we've also included, this is something that I really like in Adventures in Middle-earth, these little breakout boxes for sort of like if you're trying to decide which class you want to play. Play a Mancer if you want to hurl bolts of space energy, heal and bolster allies with blue Astra, take on dangerous amounts of Astra, and withstand the negative effects. So Mancers get spell casting. They get an ability that allows them to reduce their Astra fade a lot better than most people can. They get to choose a color of Astra to specialize in, and then they choose their Mancer specialization, either Adept or Siphon. Adept is a lot like it just makes you better at casting spells. You're able to better mitigate the negative effects that you would take on from the Astra effects tables from exceeding your Astra fade limit. And Astra Sense is kind of like detect magic, but it allows you to sort of detect the energies of Astra in the air. We also have specialization Siphon, which is like, it's a barbarian wizard. Okay, so you can, if you're at your fade limit, you can activate Limit Enhancer, which gives you advantage on saving throws made to avoid or resist spells and their effects. When casting a spell, you may use a single free boost that does not increase your Astra fade, and you have resistance to bludgeoning, piercing, and slashing damage. So it just makes you a Super Saiyan. So that's the Mancer. Next up is Mechanist, which is personally my favorite class. The Mechanist gets this thing called spheroids, which are these little floating constructs that you can build that serve different functions. So you get different functions based on the specialization that you take, but the basic functions are combat, healing, shield, and support, which all do different things. These spheroids kind of float around. You can command them. They move on your turn and can take an action. So you start out with one of these things, one spheroid, but at higher levels, you end up getting up to 3 of them. The combat spheroid can attack, the healing spheroid can heal, the shield spheroid can increase armor class, and the support spheroid can add a 1d4 to a ability check, attack roll, or saving throw. So spheroids are really cool, just little utility drones, basically. You also get expertise, much like a rogue does. Tech Attuned is cool. It allows you to work with specters, baromechs, and other constructs. And then Mechanist specializations. You can do Fixer, Slip Dagger, or Necrotech. Fixer focuses on repairing and modding. So it's like, it gives you increased healing, and it allows you to swap the type of spheroid that you're using as an action on your turn, which is really cool. If you go Slip Dagger, which is kind of like a rogue, you get Sneak Attack, much like a rogue does in 5th edition, but you also get Lockbreaker spheroids. There's 3 types: Infiltration, Scout, and Mine. Mine is brand new in version 0.4. Infiltration allows you to open locks, disarm a trap, or seal a door within 10 feet of it. It can also use the help action to grant a friendly creature within 10 feet advantage on any checks made to open a lock, disarm a trap, or seal a door. So it helps you break into things. The Scout spheroid allows you to see through it until the start of your next turn. You can perceive through your spheroid so long as it is within the normal 120-foot range. While perceiving through your Scout spheroid, you can gain dark vision and have advantage on perception and investigation checks that rely on sight. And then the Mine spheroid. This spheroid can explode on command, dealing damage to nearby enemies. As an action, you can detonate this spheroid. All creatures within 10 feet of its current location must make a dexterity saving throw, the DC of which is equal to 8 plus your intelligence modifier plus your proficiency bonus. Creatures who fail the saving throw take 2d6 piercing damage and 1d6 fire damage, while creatures who succeed take half that much. The spheroid is instantly destroyed, but you can reclaim the materials used to create it as normal. So that's pretty cool. That's a new addition. I'm pretty excited about that. And then you have the Necrotech, which basically turns you into a Beastmaster. You get a Baromech Companion, which here's the 2 possible Baromech Companions. These are also new additions to the Harbinger playtest. Initially, we just had people pick a beast and turn it into a construct. Now we actually have 2 different Baromechs that you can pick, the Baromech Loader and the Baromech Sentinel. The Loader is sort of like it's like a heavy lifter, does a lot of damage, has a lot of strength, and a lot of armor. And then you have the Baromech Sentinel, which is more like a combat Baromech, and it has an actual gun and a blade that it can use in combat. So 2 very cool things. Eventually we'll have things that you can add to them, different mods and items and things like that. And they get better with you as you level up. So, and then our final class is the Treader. Which you should play a Treader if you want to enhance your favored weapons with Astra energy, wield blades and pulsars in tandem, forge new paths across dangerous moons. So the Treader is kind of like a fighter ranger type. They're really good at exploring, but they're also really good at dealing damage. So at first level, you get Traverser, which is kind of like a ranger ability. You ignore difficult terrain. You gain proficiency in perception and survival. You have advantage on initiative rolls, and on the first turn during combat, you have advantage on attack rolls against creatures that have not acted yet. You can bolster your weapons with Astra energy, so you can increase your Astra Fade to reave your weapons in energy, which is really cool, and that works on guns and swords and all that kind of stuff. You get to take a combat focus, which is very similar to what the fighter gets. You can go Blade Master, Defender, Dual Wielder, or Marksman. Action Surge, and then Treader Specialization, we have Reaver and Stalker. Reaver focuses on melee combat, and the Stalker is sort of like a bounty hunter type, where you can take down, you deal a ton of damage on single attacks, and it's meant to be sort of like a striker. You know, you want to attack one thing and deal a lot of damage to it, whereas the Reaver is like, I'm going to take on groups of people. They get a thing called Marauder, which is a lot like Cleave in 3rd edition, and Fierce Attack, which is a lot like Barbarian's Reckless Attack ability, but a little different. So those are the classes. Now let's talk about equipment. So this is the first time that we're including actual like equipment with prices and weights and all that kind of stuff in the game. So we have light armor, medium armor, and heavy armor. These are we actually have equipment tables here. People have been really wanting prices for things. That's something that we see consistently in the feedback for the survey, or the survey for the feedback for the playtest. People ask for actual, you know, hey, we want to see prices and weights for things. We want to see what the armor is called and stuff like that. So we have in light armor, we have scout suits, eelskin armor. Medium armor, we have beagle hide armor and woven steel armor. Heavy armor is iron bone and bulk plate. And then we have 2 different types of shields, buckler shields and boarding shields. And there's stats for all of that here. Then we have weapons, simple melee weapons, simple pulsers, martial melee weapons, and martial pulsers. Again, prices for everything. This is something that people have really been wanting. And people have been wanting to know what sorts of melee weapons are available too. So we have cudgel, dagger, hammer, hand axe, spear, staff, glaive, long blade, short blade, war axe, war blade, and warhammer. Then we have spacer gear, which is things like ammo, bedroll, rations, grappling hooks, grav boots, things like that. Just really simple stuff. We have our basic gear kit here, which each character starts with at level 1. We have a question here from Paul. Can you charge a weapon and pass it to an ally for the Treader ability? No, you can't. And that's actually, we're going to specify that in that playtest, that if you lose the weapon, if you're disarmed or you let go of it, the energy dissipates on that weapon. And then we have our weapon mods, which are really cool. You can add a weapon mod to a melee or a ranged weapon, depending on what type it is. Each weapon has 3 slots, and each mod takes up a different amount of slots. This is something really cool. We included a table with all the mods, the prices for the mods, as well as a D20 roll ability. So if you want to roll up some random mods for your player characters to find, you can do so really easily. So these are things like an astroscope, which allows you to use a bonus action to gain advantage on an attack at long range. Barrow Blade, which allows you to soak up HP from things you kill. Bayonet, elemental enhancements, add elemental damage to a melee thing. Grapple Caster allows you to shoot a grappling hook. Mancer Module allows you to cast a spell with a melee weapon. Quick Loader allows you to load with a bonus action. Wraith Muzzle is like a silencer, things like that. So these are just really cool little mods that you can add to your weapons. Eventually we'll have a lot more of these, and also mods for armor. Okay, this is the other thing I was talking about with the Void ships. We have added stats for the Void ships, the different types of Void ships, as well as some land vehicles. We have the Leva Bike and the Leva Sled, which are hover vehicles. And then for the Void ships, we have skiffs, ketch, hauler, and raid boat, which are the different types of Void ships that are available. Got a question here from Gavin Walter. This armor can stop a bullet. Does the combat feel realistic? Normally when a person is shot even once, no matter where they are hit, they don't make it very long. So Gavin, it uses just 5th edition mechanics. So the pulsers are very powerful. But also keep in mind that this is a sci-fi fantasy game. So these are, it's not necessarily like you're shooting somebody at point blank with a Glock and they're wearing, you know, it's people are wearing body armor, and the guns are a little bit different than you would see in real life. So obviously the guns are very powerful. They do a lot of damage, but also ammo is scarce. The guns are very expensive, and cover is very important in gunfights in this. So. So yeah, we have stats for void ships, which includes the prices for the ships, their speed, how many crew they require, the number of passengers, their cargo tonnage, AC, HP, and the damage threshold for each of them. So this is in line with the 5th edition stats for different ships and stuff like that. We also have abilities for specters, things like scanning, and helping with astrogation, taking autopilot, increasing the void barriers, things like that. So. All right, chapter 6 is all about magic. It's all about casting spells, exceeding your astrofade limit, doing awesome stuff. So we have stuff about the boosts, which each spell has 3 boosts. So let's look at a spell here just for, we also have a table with all the spells. Let's look at a good spell for okay, so let's look at Energy Tendril. So it increases your astrofade by 3, requires a bonus action to cast. You lash out with a tendril of yellow astra, grabbing a creature and pulling them towards you. Choose a creature you can see within 30 feet. That creature must succeed on a dexterity saving throw or be pulled 15 feet closer to you. If the targeted creature is a willing ally, they can choose to automatically fail the saving throw to be pulled 15 feet towards you. Now here's the boost. You can basically increase the astrofade cost of the spell to add a boost to it. You can pull the creature an additional 15 feet. If the creature fails their saving throw, they also gain the restrained condition with an escape DC equal to your spell save DC. Or you can target 2 creatures instead of 1. So you can pump this spell up to the maximum power level, do all 3 boosts, increase your astrofade by 6 in doing so, but you can get 2 creatures, pull them 30 feet, and restrain them with energy tendrils. So that's pretty cool. That's also going to exceed your astrofade in like one go. So this is a very it's a high risk, high reward, push your luck kind of system with the spells here. And this is the downside here, the Astra effects tables. These are the tables that you roll on if you exceed your astrofade casting spells. So things like the Astra shocks your system. You reduce your current astrofade by 2, but you were stunned. You receive a flash of a horrific past event. Take 1d8 psychic damage. Astra deadens your reflexes. The next attack against you gains advantage. Things like that, all the way up to immediately make a death saving throw. If you fail, you explode in a ball of searing red astra, dying immediately. Creatures within 20 feet of you take 2d8 force damage. You can permanently reduce ability scores, things like that. So, all right, and then we have a new addition to the playtest, creatures, which is another thing that people have been asking for consistently in the playtest survey, feedback surveys. We have 3 different types of creatures: Baromech, Chrysalic, and Scrugs, and we have stats for all of them. So the Baromech Loader and the Baromech Sentinel we saw previously, because those are the 2 possible Baromechs for the the Necrotech Mechanist to have. But we also have Chrysalic, which is it's like a cross between a spider and a squid. They're these things. This art right here, these are Chrysalic. And the Chrysalic have a cool ability called Astrofeed. As an action, the Chrysalic can increase the astrofade of a creature it is grappling by 4. If, at the beginning of the Chrysalic's turn, the grappled creature is meeting or exceeding its astrofade limit, it must succeed on a DC 15 Constitution saving throw, or its hit point maximum is reduced by an amount equal to its current astrofade. This reduction lasts until the creature finishes a long rest. The creature dies if this effect reduces its hit point maximum to 0. So basically, the Chrysalic can grapple you with its tentacles, pump you full of Astra, and then start draining your hit points, potentially killing you. So Chrysalic are nasty little buggers. And then we have the Scrugs. We have 4 different kinds of Scrugs. We have Scrug Crawler, Scrug Brute, Scrug Shaman, and Scrug Behemoth. The Crawler it's kind of like a goblin. They're kind of like sneaky ambusher types. They come equipped with a short blade and a light pistol. Then we have the Brutes, which are kind of like orcs. They have an axe and a short scattergun. We have Scrug Shaman, which is kind of it's a spellcaster and a leader. And then we have Scrug Behemoth, which is just a giant thing. I mean, the other Scrugs use it as a mount, basically, and it has a sweep attack. All creatures within 10 feet of the Scrug Behemoth must make a DC 16 dexterity saving throw. If they fail, they take 10 bludgeoning damage and are knocked prone. If they succeed, they take half as much damage and remain standing. That also has a charge ability. Then we get to the end, the Opta and the Open Gaming License, and that's it. That is 47 pages of the new 0.4 Harbinger playtest. If this seems at all interesting to you, there is a link down in the description where you can sign up, and we'll be sending these out tomorrow to all playtesters. So this is something that I've really enjoyed working on. It's a setting that is near and dear to my heart. It's kind of my baby. I've been working on it a lot over the last year. It occupies my mind at all times. And people have really been enjoying it, man. There's a lot of people out there that have run some really awesome Harbinger games. Lloyd over on the Jarl DM, Ian Christensen from Fantastic Dimensions, Drake, who runs the channel RPG Construct, runs some really awesome Harbinger games. So we really wanted to send something out to the playtesters that felt more official. You know, we previously, the playtest has been in a Google Doc that we've just been exporting as a PDF, which is, you know, it's fine. It works for our purposes, but we wanted something that had art, that had the 2-column text layout, really nice, easy to use tables, something that you could print out and feel good using, running at your table, you know, creating characters. And we're really excited about the future of Harbinger. The next playtest, 0.5, which will be coming out in early 2018, will have the races and backgrounds, as well as potentially ship combat and a moon creation system. So lots of awesome stuff coming down the pipe for people who are interested in Harbinger. So again, this seems at all interesting to you, the link to join the playtest is down in the description. So yeah, thank you everyone for stopping by and hanging out. I'll hang around for a couple more minutes here in case anyone has any questions. Let me stop screen sharing here. There we go. So I'll hang out for a little bit here in case anyone has any questions about Harbinger, about anything Absolute Tabletop related, Fistful of Dice related, Matt Click related. Any questions that you guys might have, I'll stick around for just a couple minutes here. I missed a bunch of messages, so I'm going to check on those really quick while I wait. Okay, cool. Fun fact, I feel like I'm getting sick, which is great. So Paul says, thanks for the preview. You're welcome, man. I'm happy. I'll talk about Harbinger until my voice gets raw. I love talking about Harbinger and sharing it with people. I think that it's I think the Harbinger kind of scratches a unique itch. You know, there's a lot of sci-fi systems out there, and there's a lot of people that are doing 5th edition sci-fi. You know, there's a lot of great stuff. There's Hyperlanes. What are there's some other ones too that are 5th edition sort of sci-fi stuff. But Harbinger for me, it scratches a unique itch that I have where I want the sci-fi lean, but I don't want to lose out on the mysticism. I don't want to lose out on the wonder of magic and wizards. And I also want horror. I want eldritch horror. You know, I want Cthulhu-esque things. I want a literal, you know, an alien structure that makes no sense, that changes when you look at it. Stuff like that. I love that kind of stuff. And I feel like it's a setting that is just ripe for all kinds of different adventures. If you want to run, you know, dungeon delves, you can do that. If you want to run, you know, a sandbox where you go to different moons and try to scrape out a living, you can do so. If you want to run a high intrigue game where you're really involved with the Seps and sort of their power struggles, you can do that. You know, if you want to be scavengers, you can do that. If you want to be raiders, you can do that. There's a lot of different things that you can do. Actually, there's something here that I can show you guys while I have a captive audience. Let me see here. Is it in this folder? No. Where did I end up putting that? 1 second. Sorry, guys. Is it in my Dropbox? Oh, it sure is. I'm going to share this with you. Let me screen share here. This is a, here we go. Screen share. Oh, come on, Hangouts. There we go. Screen share. This is a poster for a, this is a campaign that I'm going to be running. A Harbinger campaign starting in 2018. It's called Nomad. And it's going to include Barker, Lloyd from the RLDM, Jeff Doty, James Carney, and Tim Carney. So yeah, I'm pretty excited about this. I'm going to be running that in 2018, and it's really going to do a great job of sort of showing off Harbinger and what it can do. It's going to be very sandboxy, very episodic. I'm excited about it. We're going to be doing a session 0 here very soon. Okay, we got some more comments. Havocbringer guy, what's your point of view concerning the supernatural in Harbinger, like ghosts and stuff? Are you going the we don't know route where ghosts might just be astral farts of the long dead? So, I mean, there's ghosts in Harbinger. They're literally, the ships are haunted by ghosts that serve as AI. The way I see it is that ghosts sort of exist. They become astra. They become energy, right? Like, it's sort of a science meets magic sort of lean, where it's like, you know, we are made up of energy. You know, all living things are made up of energy and matter. And I like the idea that these necrotechs, you know, these mechanists that have mastered the ability of, you know, commanding the dead, have basically figured out a way to harness that energy, that spirit energy, and create machine brains, you know, using that. So, you know, stripping something of its individuality and its personality, and turning it into sort of a, you know, a construct, a machine brain, an artificial intelligence of sorts. There's also, you know, there's zombies in this game. They're called gaunts. They're basically Astra-infused corpses that have risen to life. Ragmar Virillion says, I prefer my own system, built over 3.5 in Pathfinder. It took me 10+ years to make. That's great, man. That's cool. You can play whatever system you like. All right, I'll stick around for any other questions, but otherwise, I think I'm gonna get going here. Ragnar says, ha, I've got the exact same thing in my game, though it's a tad bit different. So if it's a tad bit different, then it isn't the exact same thing in your game, is it, Ragnar? Anyway, guys, thanks for sticking around. Harbinger guy says, nice. So ghosts are equal to fuel for necrotechs. Basically, yeah, it's kind of effed up. But so anyway, thanks for sticking around, guys. Had a good turnout. Again, if you're interested in Harbinger, playtest link is down below. It's totally free to get involved in the playtest. This is something that we're probably going to be kickstarting later next year or in early 2019. People have been having a lot of fun with it. So thanks again, guys. Take care. Happy gaming all. And I hope everyone is looking down the barrel of a good weekend. Take care, everybody. Catch you later.